Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Welcome to Meet the Authors, The Unseen Powerhouse, The Rise of Indigenous Enterprise. I'm Nicholas Torres. I'm the co-founder and publisher of the Social Innovations Journal, and we're really happy to have partnered with Atma Shakti Trust for the second time to bring you this amazing edition. Next slide, please. Before we launch into what you're all here for, to listen to the authors and engage in conversations with them, we're just going to give you a little context of the edition, and then the authors will present their articles. We'll have conversation topics and then concluding remarks. We're going to give you, for many of you, I think most of you know about the Social Innovations Journal, but we're going to give you a little background information before I turn it over to our host. Next. So the Social Innovations Journal was started back in about 2010. So we've been publishing for about 15 years. And it's really with understanding that there's this gap in knowledge for people working in the social sector to share their models across the globe. The reality is it became a platform for practitioners to really talk about what's working within their communities, and then an opportunity to share that so other people in other communities across the globe could learn from their secret sauce, potentially adopt it, and then implement it within their local ecosystems. Next slide, please. So we do 6 editions annually. Sometimes we'll do a special edition, but we really try to focus within the human sector, within education, human services, healthcare, social mobility, really trying to tackle those issues that are facing our respective ecosystems and across the globe. But we frame them within this idea of what social innovations within our title of, like, what are those new ideas that we're trying to put out there we found that are working. Social enterprise, such as the title for this one, meaning that they're sustainable, right? They're building at the infrastructure, system change, policy, because those are oftentimes what we have to operate within that framework. So oftentimes we look at how it influences systems and policy, and then last but not least is how we collaborate in partnerships of doing this forward. The bottom of the screen is we're a little bit different than most editions in that we find partners across the globe who are experts within these areas, and then they, in a sense, do the curation of the editions because they have this amazing network of people, of change makers who are doing this. And our partners, which is growing, are, Ashoka, on entrepreneurship, Tamarack Institute, Transformational Community, the Network Towards Unity for Health for Global Health, Wood System of Care for Human Services, Atma Shakti Trust. We recently added the Graduate School of Education, University of Pennsylvania, and a few others. Next slide, please. Although we do curation editions, we always invite other people. It's an open access journal. There are not any publication fees for it. So if you have an edition and you're a change maker that would like to share your knowledge and your expertise, we invite you to apply and send your article in. Next slide. And so with that, here's our contact information. I'm Nick Torres. My colleague is Nikolai. You can reach out to either one of us. And now I will turn it over to Sangha from Atma Shakti Trust to take us away. So again, and thank you so much for the creation of this edition.
Thank you. Well, namaste, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. And welcome all of you to join this event with us. So, this edition, as Nick just said, it's very close to our heart. This is something that we really think that a subject area like this should join the global conversation, and it is of vast importance. At the time, we are facing like multiple crises like climate change, cultural erosion, and also livelihood instability. And it's like the minority or the indigenous community and entrepreneurs who are actually also offering an alternative and some of the most grounded solutions and regenerative and socially embedded solution to the today's challenges that we are facing. I will take you in this edition, we have made 3 subgroups. I will start with the first subgroup, which is regenerative farming and indigenous led agri enterprises. In this first cluster, we spotlight how traditional farming wisdom, often overlooked or undersupported, is merging with agricultural technology to create climate resilient community led system. These models are not just about preserving biodiversity or sustaining livelihood, they're also reimagining agriculture as a space of innovation, equity, and entrepreneurship. Our first author, Amir Manandeva, his article, Rooted Technologies: How Tribal Farmers Are Merging Traditional Knowledge with Agri-Tech for Climate Resilience. This piece takes us to the fields of tribal India, where farmers are combining deep-rooted ecological knowledge with digital tools and precision farming, not just to boost productivity, but to reclaim agency over their food system. It's a model of profit with purpose, one that speaks of sustainability, sovereignty, and innovation from the grassroots up. I will invite Amir to come and take us through his article. Amir, are you here? Have you joined us?
Hello, good evening. Good evening, Sangamitra. Good morning, Nicholas, and all other guests who are here. Uh, it's really an honor to open this session for, the Social Innovation Journal. And I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to the editorial team and all other, community voices whose knowledge and, resilience actually form the core of our collective work. So I will just sum up my article in the form of few points. Firstly, I'll give the context of the article, how tribal farmers are merging, their traditional knowledge, agri systems and climate resilience. And regarding the country, regarding India, it's most vulnerable to, climate dependent agriculture or as far as indigenous communities are concerned, 8 to 9% of the tribals are in actually a population in India are tribals, and among all those 8 to 9%, 40% of them are in Madhya Pradesh. And we have field case studies, the traditional routes in which they actually the tribal population practice the traditional practices of if we talk about their ancestral method of seed preservation, if we talk about their sharing other community led knowledge, and regarding the climate challenges, which is an important and the major factor as far as the agriculture is concerned, be it tribal or non-tribal. So, unpredictable monsoons are there, recurring floods and droughts are always there. And we have, like, the resilience on all those things. Now, the mixed cropping, utera farming, agroforestry, and seed saving are some of the conceptual examples of the traditional knowledge which all these indigenous communities practice. And my article talks about how we can build a connection between the traditional knowledge as the technological advancements which are happening all over in agricultural sector across the globe. And the few of examples are like solar irrigation, common points, soil sensing, mobile advisories, GIS based seed banks. And definitely we have also I have talked about the hybrid enterprise, which is like community led ownership of these enterprises with the help of tech entrepreneurship. And my review was all about like secondary data review method, in which I have reviewed the government documents, in which I have reviewed the scientific journals, and then did the policy mapping of all these and which are aligned with the priorities of the government of India in the field of agriculture. We have several schemes which have been launched for the betterment of the agricultural, ecosystem in the tribal areas. And I have also given some case studies in which there is Jabua Pulses demo model, which has led, to the productivity increase, almost 45% yield gain when they have merged these traditional knowledge as well as the technology with this thing. Their pulses return turned 54% overall, again is the net returns. 14,200 kgs of the seeds have been exchanged under the community seed preservation program in several tribal belts of the Madhya Pradesh, in which in this model what they do is, first the seed banks provide 1 kg of the hybrid seeds for the demonstration in plots, and after the harvest they return 1.5 kgs of the seeds to the same bank, which also helps us in preservation of these seeds. And if we talk about the solar cooperative pumps mobile advisories in local languages, because I have been doing study in the food National Food Security Act. I have done the concurrent evaluation in Madhya Pradesh since I am based in Madhya Pradesh, and I work with the tribal people and all other belts of the Madhya Pradesh. So what I observed in those cases, as far as PDS system is concerned, these tribal people are unable to understand the local language or the regional language. They want it in their own language. So mobile advisories in the form of their tribal language has also proven a good case study. And establishment of these millet board, I have talked about in this paper that millet enterprises are also in very predominant among Baga tribe of the Madhya Pradesh. They in which they have collectively add the value addition and tapped the potential market for their produce. In fact, that the biscuits, they have started producing biscuits after getting a good harvest from these enterprises. And the products are available in market in the form of a kodo kutki. And I have then talked about the comparative enterprises model, in which I have just made a matrix of how it can be led into the community right now if we replicate the same models across all the tribal indigenous communities. And these models will be helpful, like community, it can be community led, it can be women led, only women self help groups can also be in. And I have prioritized, like on the basis of what can be the highest priority, what can be the medium priority. And findings have shown that these case study models have helped 20% of the irrigation savings of the farmer from the previous non previous methods, the yield stability boost of 10 to 12% in their yields when they have adopted these practices. And also the local resolution within the community, because when it will be community driven, then whole of the ecosystem in that very particular community, including the local elected representatives, they also come and they help in local issue resolution if there is any regarding this. And I have given some policy recommendations because Pradhan Mantri Kusum Yojana is there, which helps in, like giving subsidies to farmers for irrigation purposes. And also I have also given some recommendations on community based millet mission, or we can establish if we recommend, if these things are given to policy makers in the government, because I work in the government, that's why if it is being kept in notice of the government, they can establish a millet board as well. I have also given recommendation about the digital extension of the advisories in their local traditional language. And also integration of indigenous knowledge in the Krishi Vigyan Kendra, which are in all the blocks in the state. And also tribal millets certification process, which is also a hectic process when it comes to the or certification. The farmers are getting the low yields, and those who actually bring it from the farmers, they bring it to the open market and get the good amount of money. So if they get these organic certification, they'll get the a good price in the market as well. And also I have given some implication of how we can scale up these models, how we can develop, like micro enterprises, and definitely establish a millet board in the state. And if we talk about the field validation, we can consider a good pilot study in the Madhya Pradesh itself, because this paper talks about only secondary review, and that's why if primary surveys being, we can take up a good project on this thing in future, of course.
Thank you, Amir. Thank you, Amir. And I'm sure there are other authors in this segment and other, I see there are about 37 of us here. And thank you, everybody, for joining. And Amir, I'm sure everybody will have a lot of questions for you. And as we continue to explore the theme of regenerative agriculture, I would invite our next author, Mr. Abhishek Kumar Das. Abhishek's article invites us into the vibrant world of the community led seed banks, which are not only conservation tools but also a model of cultural revival as they also boost the rural agrarian economy. Let's hear from Abhishek on how community led seed banks can be a foundation for local youth and women, women led enterprises. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Sangha. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nicola. Thanks for this time. Uh, I would like to start with a quote from Dr. Vandana Sivas. As per as per his statement, whosoever controls the seeds controls the food, and whoever controls the food controls the people. So seed, what is we see is not just seed, but it is also associated with the cultural aspect of the farmer. It has its own political identity. It has its own economical aspect as well. While coming to seed bank, there are so many seed bank which are functional since last many years. But if you see those seed banks, those are established and created and also run to preserve the seed. But uh, those seed bank usually miss out the other aspect of seed bank, like how it can be a model for tourism, or how it can attract the tourist, or how it can be an enterprises, how a young man or a woman in the rural setup, or those who are belong to that same community, can create enterprises out of the seed bank. So this aspect is totally missing. Whatever the seed bank we have here, and they have totally missed out this aspect. And in this article, we tried to figure out: is there any possibility to stand it as an enterprise? Is there any possibility to make it as a region for attract the tourism? So these are the things we have tried throughout this article. And here we can see that around 90% of the seeds has been vanished in India. Actually, it has got vanished after the Green Revolution. And after that onwards, many people try to revive those seeds and try to conserve those seeds. And from that aspect, or from that concept, many seed bank grows up in many places. And this seed bank not only conserve, but also conserve the indigenous seed, but also it restore the ecology and also empower the community, and to also create the opportunity for rural enterprises. And seed means, as I said, it is not just a seed for agriculture, but it's a sign of their sign for freedom. It's also a sign of their sign up for their culture, and also it's a kind of knowledge for them, kind of some economic. No, it's a symbol of economical knowledge for them. And reviving that seed is also is to revival of their cultural identity, revival of their cultural independence, and many more things associated with the seed bank for a tribal community or for an indigenous community. So in this article, we have tried to see many institutions, many organizations who have been working very rigorously to restore the seed bank or working on seed bank. And Navdanya is one of them who has been actively engaged and established over 150 number of seed banks in different states. And they have been very successfully restoring varieties of seeds from different places. And those seeds are actually climate resistable seeds and can grow in different kinds of climate across different states. And if you see how it can be built as an enterprises, there are few factors or there are few areas which are totally lacking at this present moment, and that areas which can be added to the seed bank to build it as an enterprise. See, many people don't know where the seed banks are located or what the seed bank is all about. Even the people from the same area, same district also they don't know whether the seed bank is actually exist or functioning or not. So in order to meet those challenges or meet those challenges at the ground, the seed banks has to offer some seed in loans and also collect some kind of interest in terms of seed from the farmers for whom they are giving this seed. That is one of the area that has to be ensured. Secondly, some seed cooperatives or some farmer producers organization has to be set up to check and balance, to check the income level of the farmers, of the income of those specific seed bank. And particularly, there should be some training institutions. Some training has to be given to the people who are running the seed bank to be updated on different aspect of seed, different kind of seeds, and to how to manage those seeds. And very importantly, the value addition and marketing aspect is totally missing so far. It means the packaging of the seed, then the branding of the seed, how in fact the branding include also the digital marketing as well. People in today's time, many people don't want to visit the seed bank, but they want to order the seed from the seed bank. But those kind of services is still a distant dream in many places, which should be there to make it as an enterprises model. And it can also attract the tourists. For the seed bank, the tourists can also visit the place or visit the particular area to know more about this seed. So for the tourist also, the seed bank has to go digitally and they can raise the tourist or they can attract the leads for the tourist to visit those seed bank. The tourist can either be a student, that can be researcher, that can be people from academic background, from university and many other
Yeah.
places also. And we have tried to see that how a seed bank, within how much cost or within how much a very minimum cost, how it can be set up. And in a very minimum cost, it can be set up and can attract revenue and can generate revenue from different sources like selling the seed, then attracting the tourism, then visiting different seed banks, seed festivals, and
Yeah.
have some stall there and establish some stall there and
Yeah.
to generate revenue from there. And there are many other options are there to generate the revenue out of the seed bank for a youth or a woman from that particular community. So these are the things we have tried to expect, tried to figure out throughout this article. Apart from the other benefits that we already have this with the seed bank, right? Their ecological impact or how it is very friendly for the and for the climate. So these are the aspects which are already we are doing, but there are some other
Yes,
aspects
Abhishek.
which I mentioned are totally
Yeah.
missing so far. That's why we've tried to figure out those things in this article and try to make it as a
Yeah.
enterprise so that people will come to know more about it and try this model so that in coming days those seed banks who are available in the different location but people don't know about it. So this is this is how we approach this idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you. And thank you all for being here again, and especially people who are here to meet the authors. So, for authors, if they can keep their cameras on when they are speaking so that we know who the authors and who the people are behind this article. And as we conclude this thematic cluster of regenerative farming and indigenous agri enterprises, I would invite Pooja to talk about her article, Revitalizing Indigenous Food Traditions for Better Nutrition and Sustainable Living. In this article, there is a lens of systemic thinking where the author has illustrated how digital storytelling, community-led platform, and food-based enterprises are enabling indigenous community to reclaim their cultural heritage. And Pooja, I would request you if you can keep the time within 5 minutes. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So, good evening, everyone. So, as we all know that indigenous food has received the global recognition for their potential to contribute to improved food security, biodiversity, deforestation, and it's a recognized thing that indigenous food uh, is very important. So the article, the crux of the highlights of the article is that it's very important for the nutrition, culture, heritage, and sustainable agriculture. But modernization and colonization has, somewhere led to a decline in the traditional diets, especially in terms of the tribal community. And that is why we see higher cases of malnutrition and loss of cultural identity. So, to address all these challenges, the article proposes an innovative model called Indigenous India Food Hub Network. So, this is inspired by the Global Hub on Indigenous Food Systems. And basically, the platform will connect farmers, it will connect communities, chefs, NGOs, consumers through digital platforms, local food hubs, farmer trainings, culinary collaboration, and awareness campaigns. And the goal of this whole model will be to increase the cultivation of the indigenous food, promote consumption of indigenous food, preserve and revitalize the traditional recipes, and support the livelihood as such. So the main features will include using a user-friendly app and website for knowledge sharing and marketplace linkages. It will also have culinary collaborations with, chefs like I spoke before. Many CSOs or NGOs, I would give the example of Atma Shakti's initiative of Indigenous Yatra, can come together and work on the awareness campaigns for the cultivation of traditional crops, publicizing the traditional recipes. So, in all, a lot of success indicators will be that there will be cultural preservation, there will be improved nutrition, there will be biodiversity conservation, and there will be dietary diversity because of this model. So, I think I will end my summary with this, and
So,
this is
Pooja,
the
you have
crux of.
some time. If you want to take us, you have taken much lesser time, so you can take
Okay,
a few
okay.
more time.
Then I will take the
Yeah,
opportunity. Absolutely. So
sure.
then the examples in India are like, we had the millet mission, wherein the regional food, festivals by the millet mission is promoted. There is a lot of example in India, especially for the women-led cooperatives, which are working, to promote their traditional diets. And this model will also look at exploring the how through policy support, the whole awareness on traditional diet and recipes can be increased. So, in terms of the policy implications, they will be integrating the indigenous crops into the national and food security schemes. Already, lots of NGOs in India and globally, they are doing advocacy with all the these agriculture or the food systems based organizations at the global level for such a change. And especially this model will look at promoting the tribal culinary heritage in tourism. So in all, the effort will be to revitalize the indigenous food systems through a community-led approach. Everything that will be done will be, taking the grassroots in action, and it will be through them, for them, and the entire effort will be, collaborative, so that there is a lot of preservation, there is a lot of it leads to a path towards the nutritional security at large. That's about it, Samal.
Thanks, Pooja. Thank you. I'm sure we will come back with question, and we will conclude this segment. Thank you, Pooja, Abhishek, and Amir. And we will move on to the next subgroup, which is forest economies and circular enterprises. Uh, in this is a segment where the authors have treated like forest knowledge no longer as a static tradition but also a foundation for innovation and circular economy. Here we see how community led forest based enterprises, especially those led by women and youth, are reimagining conservation not as a trade off but as an economic opportunity, whether through sustainable harvesting, ecotourism, or value added processing. This model shows us how to protect biodiversity while building a dignified livelihood. In this segment, I will ask Jaya Bharti to open the segment. Her article From Forest to Future, Scaling Digital Ecofeminism in India's Tribal Economy explores how tribal women and youth are using technology to leapfrog structural barriers in India's forest region. Her focus is on Forest Post, a digital first model, reveals how AI tools decentralize finance and social media storytelling that are empowering the forest entrepreneurs. Over to you, Jaya.
Thank you, Sanga. Am I audible? Yeah, so greetings to all of you. And first of all, I really want to express my gratitude to Nick, Nikolai, Sanga, and Ruchi for giving us the space to, research about our topics and write about something which is very close to our heart. And I'm very honored to share this platform with such well-researched papers. Like I've heard three of them and I've quite read a few of them before. And it's amazing to see how deeply we have researched on our topics, and it was a very exciting process to write this article. And I could not choose my case story because there were so many models of women led entrepreneurships coming from the roots of India, from remote tribal locations, that it was very difficult to choose between a model from Jharkhand or a model from Kerala. So I've kind of, through my article, tried to cover both, but my focus is on Forest Post, which is based out of Kerala. So first, to just set a context of my paper, this is talking all about why women-led economies are important, especially when we are treating uh, uh, we are dealing with forest produce and the ecological significance of how models when are led by women also look at conservation, equitable sharing of resources, and uh, promoting good products, good practices. So the context of my paper, I'll briefly, I think I have 5 minutes of which I'll try to just talk about. So the context of my paper is that in India and our region, the whole Indian subcontinent region, there are more than 700 tribes. And in India itself, there are more than 100 million families which belong to the tribal communities. And historically, with all the history that we have, they were one of the most marginalized communities in the country because they had generational poverty. Through generations, they did not have access to uh, the social infrastructure of education or employability, and they were often used for livelihoods which were very menial. So that had pushed them back in the economic scale already. And then the youth that got some education tried to migrate to cities and find livelihood opportunities there. Now, uh, again, COVID came and it changed everything. So it created a gap. And what it did was something magical because people were forced to go back to their villages. And when they saw everything falling apart and they went back to their villages, they started reimagining their lives around their villages, around their forests, which they were missing in the city because they connected here with the forest. And going for work was making them de-link with the forest. So these women groups started coming together and talking about why can't we start something here, and the digital space gave them that platform. So in the very beginning of my article, I've talked about this Girdhan Mahila, which is a farmers producers organization in Jharkhand. They not only have a turnover of more than 10 million, but also they run an app like an Uber or a Ola. I hope all of you are familiar with Olas and Ubers. And so they have a tractor app where they, rent out their tractors for other farmers to use. So that was one model that really caught my attention. So it captures quite a bit of my article. But then as we move, as working with Atma Shakti, and we've just recently started our Indigenous Yatra, which talks about the intergenerational wisdom. And in that, we started seeing these models from other parts of the country where Atma Shakti is not directly working. And we came across this group of women in Kerala who completely from the remote tribal communities, how they've come together, negotiated economics equations, negotiated the market in the digital space, and how they have kind of used the digital space, social media marketing to promote their produce from their forest. And the beautiful part about forest post is that every time they harvest, they know how much to leave for the forest, how much to leave for the community, and how much to leave for their own families before they sell. So this is where the ecofeminism comes in picture, and I thoroughly enjoyed writing it. And thank you again for this opportunity. Over to you, Sangha.
Thank you, Jaya, for setting the context for this subsection for us. And continuing with our exploration of forest based economies, now we turn to Neha. Her article takes us deep into the forest of Sonbhadra, Uttar Pradesh, to explore a lesser known yet economically vital seed, chironji. uh, Her article, Sonbhadra's Green Gold, Chiranji Commons and Rural Enterprise, unpacks the complex interplay between ecological stewardship and tribal enterprise. At the heart of the story are tribal women who are not only protecting the commons through ethical wild harvesting, but also building new cooperative models that stabilize pricing, conserve biodiversity, and unlock value added opportunities from local processing to ecotourism. Neha brings into focus the policy that blind spots that threatens both ecological health and community profit, and making a compelling case for the community owned enterprises. Over to you, Neha.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and namaste. So,
Neha, can we see you?
yeah, I have opened
Okay,
my video.
thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you for the opportunity to share share about my article, which is published in Social Innovation Journal. And I would speak about like what I try to cover in the whole article. So, like I tried to cover core four core themes in this article, like the existing gaps and gender perspective. Third one is community innovation, and fourth is the ethical shift. So in this article, I explore how ethical wild harvesting, particularly like Bukinani Alanjan, which is called Chironji in India, can become a social innovation model for building inclusive, sustainable forest economies, especially for tribal forest dwelling communities and women. So, like if just talking about existing gap where forest produce is extracted without ecological sensitivity or community benefit, and including the gender perspective, like highlighting the invisible but critical role of tribal women in harvesting, processing, and knowledge sharing, and like community innovation, like showcasing local solutions where women-led cooperatives can play a significant role in price transparency tools and establishes solar-powered shellers. The ethical shift mean like presenting a vision of livelihood that protect both biodiversity and dignity. So, what is the USP of this article? It brings a justice-centered lens to forest-based livelihood, moving beyond economies to include dignity, agency, and governance, which is like local governance. The article connect grassroots practices with global policy narratives, demonstrating how local solutions align with sustainable development goal, climate resilience, and indigenous rights. Rather than focusing solely on value addition, it emphasizes value redistribution, making sure that those closest to the forest benefit the most. Um, so the it talks about the relationship between people, forest, and the market. The key innovation, like in this part, I have covered the central innovation. Present is the idea that ethical wild harvesting is not just about sustainability, it's about community control, traceability, and inclusive entrepreneurship model, where community is empowered to make ecological decision making, and the decision making, the governance system is they are collectively making a system which is ecologically sustainable and compatible to their livelihood. So it encourages transparent pricing at the village level, community-owned processing infrastructures, women leadership in enterprise governance, and participatory planning through Gram Sabhas. So, and I have tried to present few models, which is based in India and connecting with the global innovation. So in India, there are few models that I have covered, like women-led cooperatives in Odisha, digital pricing board, Chhattisgarh. And while talking about the global connection, which is an international model, India is not alone in the struggle. Around the world, ethical wild harvesting is emerging as a viable alternative to extractive forest economies. The examples are given as Brazil, where women cooperative harvest and process nuts in extractive reserves with state recognition. In Peru, indigenous groups harvest nuts legally with sustainable forest certification. In Namibia, local communities manage wild harvesting under fair trade and organic certification. And in Canada, forest user group manage and create forest-based enterprise using traditional knowledge. So while writing this article, the case study is connected with Indian one Indian state, Uttar Pradesh, and the case study has been collected from Sonbhadra district. So in Sonbhadra, there are around there are around 43% of tribal communities. Those are dependent on forest producers only. But like the local collectors only get very marginal access of the price. It is very negligible. Like 75% of the farmers just sell it at no cost. So like this kind of system, the article represent the gap in the local pricing, and how it is reflecting uh, how it is somewhere creating an obstacle in rural livelihood and economies. So yeah, this is all about my article, and yes, I enjoyed writing this process because during this process I revisited the field work learning and conversation with the people who are directly into it, and also it made me to revisit some global case studies, and to reflect how other people are working in this segment. Yes, thank you, Sangha, and thank you, Pipin.
Thank you, Neha. And yeah, it's a lovely article and it's very interesting. I would urge everybody to definitely go through that. And our next author in this segment on forest based circular economy, we have Sambit Kumar Mohanty, who explores a powerful alternative to mainstream tourism, the Jahira model of regenerative ecotourism. In this article, Nature, Culture, and Commons, Sambit shows how sacred groves like Jahiras are evolving into cultural sanctuaries and biodiversity haven managed collectively by indigenous community. But this is just not about conservation. It's also about transforming tourism into learning. Rooted in commons governance, this model is not only for preservance of ecological and cultural knowledge, but also value based rural enterprise that invites ethical investment and, policy innovation. I invite Sambit to come and take us through his work. Sambit, are you here? I think Sambit is not here. So what we will do, we'll move on to our next author, Mr. Manoj Kumar Samantre. His article, as we are closing this segment, his article, Forest Flower to Market Power, he unpacks the complex intersection of culture, law, and enterprise surrounding Mahua. While the flower holds deep spiritual and nutritional value, restrictive state policy and poorly implemented rights framework have criminalized its traditional use, particularly brewing, and the disempowerment, and disempowering the very communities who have nurtured it through the ecology for generation. But hope lies in the entrepreneurial self-determination. I would invite Manoj to come and talk about his work, in which especially he has also highlighted how tribal women are organizing into cooperatives and self-help groups to reclaim ownership of the Mahua enterprise. Over to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Samantha. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to CEO Atmasakti MS Ruchi Kashyap, Nikolai and Sangamitra, you also, and all the other people who have played all their hard toils to make this edition a successful one. And also, I would like to congratulate all the authors who have been written their articles for this editions. So yeah, as Sangamitra has mentioned, that forest flower to rural power, tribal entrepreneurship around Mahua. So Mahua is Madhuka longifolia. So in this journal, I have tried to make researches around secondary researches around all the aspects, and I found a very similarity. I mean findings from all the researches, studies, other papers, and also I have tried to validate all these things through different case studies in Odisha and with different tribal communities. So this journal basically explores the intersection of culture, policy, and enterprises in tribal Odisha through the lens of Madhuka longifolia, a forest flower of deep economic, ecological, and spiritual importance. For over, in Odisha, there are 64 types of tribes. Tribes are there. Moba is not just a non-timber forestry product; it's a good medicine, ritual, resistance. Despite this, the state law forbids traditional brewing practices. I mean, the misalignment between the laws and the rights holders. With the policy implementation under the Forest Right Act and PESA remain uneven, marginalize the very communities these laws aim to empower, actually. So, drawing on literature, field stories, and policy reviews, this paper examines Mohua-based entrepreneurship as pathway to sustainable, gender-inclusive tribal entrepreneurship. It highlights the central role of the tribal women in harvesting the process and preparing Mohua and the emergence of SAG and other cooperative society that challenges exploitative market system. So I tried to understand how that can be overcome. So I have conducted some case studies in Nuapada district, which is a remotest district and a tribal majority district of Odisha. The case study illustrates that how women like Banita Maji have reclaimed agency by organizing, setting fair price shops and exploring value-added products. So she has stopped the monopolyness of the middlemen, those who are disrupting the entire process to get the MSP and procurement center and doing all the entrepreneurship. So Bonita has tried to make some sweets and flower snacks and also tried to bring the MSP, I mean the agencies who are procuring to their localities and ensure the MSP of the NTFs actually. So in this, I have also explored how that these policy recommendation can be aligned. I mean, between the policy makers and the rights holder. So my policy recommendation include legal reforms, decriminalize of mahua liquor, support to SHG, FEOs, enterprising fronts, and prioritizing women, and some branding assistance and ecological sustainability through agroforestry. The study concludes MOHUA, when supported by enabling frameworks, can serve as a culturally rooted, economically viable, and anchor the dignified tribal livelihoods, transferring forest power into a symbol of market power of the indigenous pride, actually. So in this, some key highlights that I want to mention here actually. So Madhuka longifolia is a cultural and there are lots of cultural and economical importance of Mohua is there. The Mohua is a tree which is deeply embedded in tribal life, used for food, medicine, oil, and sacred rituals. Also, the tribal women are central of its collection, brewing, and processing, granting the cultural authority and economic agency. So the misalignment between the state policy, state excise policy, and the rights holder makes lots of things. Which is disappointed, but things can be changed once the alignment can be done. So the state excise laws often criminalize traditional Mahua brewing despite cultural significance, disappropriately affecting tribal women and undermining their indigenous rights actually. So, in this literature, I have tried to find what are the possible, I mean, parameters that can be undertaken to, to make the process a robust one. So, I found there is a very critical role of digital tools. I mean, using digital platforms like WhatsApp, Amazon Carrier, Flipkart, Summer, and mobile connectivity and other digital tools to helping the tribal entrepreneurship and its rich markets. And also there is a need of digital literacy training for women, which is very crucial to inclusive participation in the digital economy. So there are some policy recommendation, which I want to highlight. These are like legal recognition of Mahua liquor. Though PESA Act is permitting to prepare the Mahua liquor, but the misalignment between state excise policy, it is not happening there. So this need to be legalized and strengthen different SAGs, APOs with infrastructure, digital access, and federated models, which can be helped to robust this model. Dedicated funds also for tribal entrepreneurship with a focus on women-led business, branding and GI tagging of market access, and cultural values, and over the all community-led forest conservation and agroforestry to sustain Mahua ecology. So, to concluding this entire journal, I would like to highlight that Mohua represent an unique opportunity to blend culture, sustainability, gender equity, and rural development with with the right amount of, implementation of policies, legal support, proper alignment between stakeholders, and eco backing. It can become a flagship model for dignified indigenous entrepreneurship in India. So finally, I want to highlight that when real change can happen. So I think the real change begins when grassroots voices echo in policy chambers. So this is what I want to highlight through this. Through this journal. So thank you all for your patience sharing. If there will be any suggestion, recommendation, I would love to add all these things. Thank you, Sanam.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you for concluding this section. And the final segment is healing justice and cultural revival. This segment brings us to the powerful and often invisible current running beneath all the previous model of entrepreneurship, which is healing. Whether through reclaiming seed sovereignty or restoring forest economy, what underpins these efforts in cultural memory, integrational trauma, and community care? This cluster of article illuminate how healing, mental, cultural, and spiritual is not just a precondition for enterprise, but a form of entrepreneurship itself. In other words, there is no regenerative economy without regenerative people. This theme centers on the emotional and psychological dimensions of indigenous people and minority communities across the world, exploring how this shape and sustain resilience, innovation, and justice. It delves into trauma informed development, cultural revival as a form of healing and recovery, and care based enterprise that roots future economies in dignity, equity, and well being. To open this, I would ask Mr. Amrish Kumar Dubey, uh, his article addressing farmers' mental health in a volatile Indian farming system. Are you here, Mr. Amrish? Are you here, Mr. Amrish?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Am
I
I
will
am
just
I
quickly. Yeah, you're audible. I'll just was
yeah.
making sure you're here. I'll quickly introduce
No, no,
your
no, no.
paper. Yeah. In this paper, Mr. Amrish addresses how chronic stress, landlessness, and climate collapse and exploitative market dynamic erode not only just livelihood, but lives. Farmer suicides, which is very common and prevalent specifically in India, are not isolated tragedies, but are systemic failures that reflect a deep emotional and psychological fracture in rural India. Amrish makes a case for integrating mental health into rural entrepreneurship, agricultural policy, and social innovation framework. Over to you, Amrish.
Thank you so much, Sangha. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. And first of all, I want to thanks and give my gratitude to Ruchiji, Sangha, and Nicholas, and all the editorial team to providing me insightful ideas and guidance. So my article, actually, it's a very critical article, and I heard very good examples from Amir and about seed bank. So there are good examples in India where farmers are progressive. But the question is, what my article puts is, in spite of India having the largest producer of milk in the world, and they're the biggest, the producer and consumer of pulses, but still there is a statistic in 2025 uh, between January to March. So there is a 657 farmer suicide in Maharashtra only. So this puts a very big question: where is the gap and what is lacking in the system? In spite of government spending so much money through different schemes, but still the farmers are not able to get good livelihoods out of it. So what I have tried to put here, because as we know, because of so many climatic problems, farmers are facing so many problems. And in India, since it's an agrarian country, and 86% population is farmers, small and marginal farmers, which are having less than 2 hectares of land. So that, because of increase of population, land is also becoming very less. So what I have put here is how we can overcome the mental stress of the farmers, and our farmers, which provides food to us, but still he is not having a good livelihood. So that's a very big question and challenge to us who are working in the development field. So what I have tried to put a model, and where we can, because we were working in a different field and we are working with the good examples also, but I think we are working in isolations. There's a need for integration, as Amir also pointed out, the integration of precision agriculture and traditional wisdom and the convergence with the government schemes. So that has to come together. So my model speaks about the multi-pronged strategies, how we can bring these three things integrated together for the welfare of the farmers. And there are many examples also, which I have put it down. Like in Orissa, there is a Jan Manas program is going on, which is community-led program, which there's a very good example, the convergence between two departments. There's a Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and the second between Ministry of Farmers Welfare and the Health Ministry of Health and Farmers. So it's a good example of convergence of two departments. And so with integration, convergence, only we can bring these farmers out of mental stress. And there is another example, Atmiyata, which is running in Gujarat. And the best part is it is running in Gujarat. It's a Mehsana district in Gujarat, which is #1 in milk production. But farmers' mental stress is very high. So there they have started this project, and WHO has recommended this one of the best practices in controlling or overcoming this mental stress. So this is a short brief which I have. My article puts a question, basically what we should do and how we can integrate the things until unless we integrate and converse, come together and work. Uh, so this is all about. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amrish. I hope I am able to put out some questions on your article at the
Yeah,
end
yeah.
of it. We have
Sure,
three
sure.
more
Most
authors
welcome.
to go now. Okay, finishing here, and from the Indian countryside to global network of Black, Indigenous, and Brown women, our next piece broadens the healing conversation to the global South. Uh, Desiree Robertson, founder of the GOC Collective, brings a powerful and deeply personal narrative on how healing and leadership are inseparable, especially for women and girls of color who are navigating generational trauma, structural exclusion, and systemic erasure. Her paper introduces the GOC Collective as a healing-centered, culturally rooted leadership ecosystem driven by storytelling, ancestral knowledge, and radical care. But this isn't just at a soft pace. It is a powerful site of innovation where communal healing generates intergenerational leadership, economic models, and policy advocacy rooted in lived realities. I would invite Desiree to come and introduce us to her work and her paper. Over to you, Desiree.
Thank you. So good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. I am in deep gratitude to Ruchi and Senga for this opportunity. This journal article and the opportunity itself are both a vulnerable and powerful way to bring my story and the story of the GOC Collective Inc. into this space. So thank you for holding it with me. So think about it. What if leadership was braided with healing? What if ancestral knowledge, grief, joy, memory, ritual was not sidelined, but actually centered? That's the vision I explore in my article, Rooted in Rising, and the invitation at the heart of my US based NGO, the GOC Collective Inc. There's another reason this work runs so deep for me. My daughter, who is Jacqueline, who is now 25, is a brilliant young woman navigating a world that often underestimates and undervalues girls and women of color. When I pour my energy into the GOC Collective and all of the work that I do, it's with her and every girl like her in mind. This is an invitation to build a future where their voices, their dreams, and leadership are truly centered. So, our blueprint for healing and leadership. How do we make this vision real? We work from a living blueprint, a holistic, flexible model designed for both local roots and global reach. At the GOC, our blueprint is built on 5 core pillars: empowerment and identity, narrative change and storytelling, health and wellness, community engagement and social justice, and authentic leadership. But this isn't just a theory. It's not something that's just written. It's an actual practical map for real change. Every initiative that the GOC runs, from discussion circles and leadership circles to restorative summits nationwide and soon to be global. We also have global healing retreats that are in Costa Rica and soon to be in Ghana and Puerto Rico. And we will grow from these foundations. So, our local and international implementation rolls out this blueprint, and it comes to life through 1 day restorative summits for women and girls of color, wellness stations, discussion circles, and storytelling workshops. We also run mentorship and developmental relationships training across the nation, focusing on mindset shift, authentic voice, and personal leadership. We're building communities of practice where mentors, teens, and the community support one another, reclaiming wellness traditions that have often been co opted or erased. Internationally, the blueprint adopts but holds the same kind of roots. We host cross cultural leadership retreats and convenience right now in Costa Rica that blend our core pillars with global learning. We connect peer groups across borders and nurture communities of practice in new cultures and contexts. Whether it's in a classroom in the US South or the US, or on a hillside in somewhere like Costa Rica, empowerment, storytelling, wellness, justice, and leadership remain our constants. And we hope to continue reaching even more in the community collectives. So, why does this matter now? So let's be clear. The leadership of women and girls of color have long been undervalued and underfunded. Only 0.5% of U.S. philanthropic giving reaches women and girls of color. Globally, less than 1% of aid supports grassroots feminine work led by women of color. And Black girls are more than 5 times here in the US likely to be suspended from school as their white peers, and they're punished instead of nurtured. These gaps are not by happenstance. They are the architecture of inequity built over generations. But through the GOC's blueprint and our work, we are actively changing that story. So our impact and vision for our blueprint is working, and this is grounded in both in mixed research methods that I have conducted and my team has conducted, where they say 90% of our participants report increased pride, connection, and resilience, and where we've trained over 45 community facilitators in this work. As we look ahead, this blueprint will see new growth locally and globally through more summits, retreats, trainings, relationships, and digital resources. Our aim is to expand reach while staying deeply rooted in every community that we serve and work alongside. So, as a closing invitation, this blueprint is not proprietary. It's an open invitation. We want partners who will help us build, adapt, and amplify this model from the South to the global South to all over the world. So collective healing and leadership become possible everywhere. Underfunded does not mean unworthy. Unseen does not mean inactive. We are the storm and the seed and the blueprint and the bloom. We don't need permission to lead. We need partners to join the rhythm. So when I think of the blueprint we've built, the circles, the summits, the retreats, the trainings, and continue to expand, I do see Jacqueline and all those who walk beside her. I see a generation who refuses to be sidelined. This is for her, for every daughter, for every one of us who are ready to co-create futures braided with justice, healing, and memory. So this is a generational invitation. Let's co-create futures braided with justice, healing, and memory. And I ask the question, will you join us? Thank you.
I'm sure all of us do want to definitely join and definitely experience some of this experience you create. Thank you, Desiree. And as we are moving closer, I'll just invite Sophie. She is our next author, and in our next piece in this segment, Sophie takes us to the forest, in the forest and the foothills of Jharkhand, where music carries memory, identity, and healing, and yet it has been increasingly silenced by marginalization and modernization. In Sophie's compelling article, we encounter a symphony of resistance that and revival, where tribal youth are reclaiming their heritage of music, not just as performance, but as enterprise, education, and ecological connection. Through the case of Wings of Chota Nagpur, she illustrates how a circular model of cultural enterprise combining documentation, training, skill building, and creative marketing engagement is bringing indigenous music to the center, back to the center of community life. So, Sophie's article, From Silence to Symphony, Reviving Indigenous Music Through Circular Cultural Enterprise. Welcome, Sophie.
Thank you, Sangha. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I feel very proud and excited to be part of this symposium, and I feel very privileged to be able to present my article here. This article is very personal to me because I grew up in an environment of song, dance, and celebration. And since, it was a really happy childhood with numerous songs, dances, celebration of life. And what was, as luck would favor me, I got into a work environment where I came into a same space where every time I went to a field, visiting different communities, the welcome, the love, the hospitality was always with music, song, and dances. And it was something that, this article has been a really learning experience for me. And it also was almost like going back to my own roots, where I saw music not just as an expression, but music as my own identity, music as well-being, music as happiness, music as community memory, and music as resilience. So when the entire article was the scope of article, I immediately picked out this because it was like this was something I really want to work on. So in my travel in the field, despite the richness of all of these, I also experience how modernization, how development has also got in different types of music, where we have more digital music, modern music. We have now, speakers, microphones, and DJs, which are kind of, coming into this space and then taking over the entire ecosystem, and which is leading to a suppression of the traditional music, leading to like a weakening of the social thread of the community. So that was why I wanted to write this. And in this article, interestingly, when we went meeting different people about what does this mean to you, like when we met community, when we met academician, when we met musician, when we met government departments, training institute, everybody knew that this was happening, and they were trying to revive and preserve this entire knowledge in their own way. And that was where we saw a gap. Like we saw people working in silos and trying to promote this entire thing, revive this entire initiative. We saw government departments like, promoting artisans, buying their instruments. We saw youth, trying to work with digital technology, uploading their musics on YouTube channels. We saw elderly people trying to talk about their instruments. We saw different collectors working in different segments. But what we saw was this gap of how everybody was working in their own spaces. And we said, and I thought, like, why not put indigenous music at the core and connect all of these stakeholders working in this revival space and try to build a a circular enterprise to just focus on revival of indigenous music. So in my article, what I try to do is I try to put forth a model. It's a multi-dimensional stakeholders model where we talk about, if we're talking about documentation and building youth cohorts. We talked about academic integration. We talk about institutional integration. I tried to put in the whole thing about capacity building. What about popularization and market development? How do we do collaborate with government? What do we do with policy alignment? And at the same time, how do we sustain this? Suppose we had all these pillars. How do we sustain this and make it financially sustainable for people, for the youth, for the community to kind of adopt it? Because one of the biggest feedback that we got during all of these was documentation, preservation, revival efforts are all very important. But what is at the crux is how do we bring this into practice? How do we bring this into practice was what was the core point key. If we do not link it to financial sustainability, why would an artisan keep making that instrument? Why would a person go and learn this? What is the whole point of this? So how do we build indigenous enterprise centered around indigenous music and get it into practice and then put it across the world? And it sounded, when I started my research, it sounded very pessimistic because I was like, oh my God, so many of these things happening. How do we take this forward? But at the same time, what was optimistic, what was hopeful was in different parts of the world, there's been such revival efforts. In the northeastern states, you have bands coming up, you have Sikkimese music coming up, you have Manipuri music coming up, even in Australia, in Africa, in New Zealand, there are many institutes, there are many efforts which are coming up at a national and global level. So people are understanding the need why music is integral, why music is important, and how we can all come together to make this happen. And when I put out this article on the Social Innovation Journal, my point was we need to share this information with a wider audience. You never know if somebody likes this idea. Would they be willing to come and support something like this in India? Or do we know of a global effort which is happening that we can connect to? Can we present this idea to a different kind of audience? How do we talk about this and how do we get this into practice? How do we make indigenous enterprise like the powerhouse that it is? And that was the goal of my article, and it has been such a learning experience for me. And as I said before, I want to go back to my roots, learn more, and have and amplify those efforts and share it to a wider audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie. Sorry, I had to change my place. It's raining very heavily in the UK today. So there's suddenly too much background noise. But anyway, last in this segment is our article Reviving Threads of Tradition, the story of ODP Sari and the Kadike Trust, India. Uh, in this article, our author Kashmira Rao chronicles the remarkable work of the Kadike Trust in Udupi, Karnataka, which has become a benchmark of cultural revival through social entrepreneurship. Once at the brink of extinction, the GI tagged Udupi Sari is now witnessing the vibrant welcome back, thanks to the model that blends intergenerational knowledge, community participation, and entrepreneurial thinking. I invite Kashmiria to come and talk about her piece here.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Kashmira. Thank you so much, Sangha. I'd like to quickly just introduce myself, a little about myself. I'm a designer and a creative strategist, and I've had the opportunity to have worked in diverse fields of design. But my focus has always been on traditional arts and crafts, and I've collaborated with a lot of folk artists across India. And at the moment, I am actually curating and developing creative briefs for Knowledge Products and Atmasakti Trust. But here, wherein we are actually creating and crafting narratives that connect grassroots realities with innovative solutions. And in my personal life, I practice a very low waste lifestyle. And I believe in a very conscious consumption pattern. I feel minimalistic is what we need to go ahead and we need to look into it. Now, the reason I'm telling you about myself is because this article is really close to my heart, and it encompasses the how crafts and sustainability actually go hand in hand. My article, Weaving Change: How the Kadike Trust in Udupi is Stitching Together Climate Action, Culture, and Empowerment. This article speaks about the deep connection between cultural practices and sustainability. Now, we're all aware of climate crisis, not as a distant theory, but as it's something that it changes and it shapes every decision we make. In India itself, we have a variety of traditional handloom textiles, which have been slowly dying, as most of them have fallen prey to imitations created by power looms. Traditional methods was intrinsically sustainable in practices like be it zero use of electricity, no waste generation, natural fibers, natural colors. These were all replaced by synthetic dyes, toxic chemicals, and huge consumption of power. Now, the increase in the usage of these machines not only introduced harmful byproducts, but it has also robbed the artisans of their livelihood. People were replaced by machines. These were the very people who were actually weaving their culture, our culture, into timeless pieces. This was exactly the starting point for Kadike Trust. Now, this model, it not only revives, but it also rebuilds livelihoods for these artisans, especially for women, and creates a self-sustaining ecosystem. This model is designed to be replicable and resilient. It is based on a simple ideology wherein the grassroots artisans are identified, they are engaged, the knowledge is passed on to them. Women and youth are brought into the system and made the torchbearers of these crafts. There is a pride instilled into these people so that they know what they have revived, what they are taking forth also. And to avoid any kind of exploitation by middlemen, a direct customer to direct to customer system was created so that weavers have complete creative freedom, and they also can command or demand the prices they believe is fair for them. So their livelihood becomes very sustainable. They have their fair wages. They are in control. And so that we not only think about how to revive these crafts, but we also needed to flourish in the future. So now when we talk about the future, now it's important to understand that reviving any craft in the world, it will be absolutely pointless if we say that if we continue to destroy the planet. And when I say destroy the planet, I mean it's the technology that we have brought in. Of course, it has its benefits, it has its advantages, but it is us, the people, who have given into overconsumption. This overconsumption has given into overproduction, and this has robbed us of our natural resources. So now, if you look carefully, you can see the connection between minimalism. You can see the connection between our culture, between the ecology. If you look at simple crafts which used very basic natural raw materials, which was like whether it's cotton, which is biodegradable, nothing synthetic, the usage of natural dyes, it is so it does not harm the water at all. And all these things kept the air, water, and land clean. Pollution was kept at bay. Toxic chemicals were kept away. Now, even the lack, the I will not lack the usage of power of electricity, which was very minimal. I would say was just another savior, you know. And now in this today's day and time, when we see that the impacts of climate change, deforestation, pollution, it is so high, and we need to do something. Like every little step of ours counts. I just feel that this article and this model, it actually completely encompasses, and it also gives you a food for thought, where it's a model that just offers a quiet but a very powerful answer, that our traditions aren't outdated, but in fact they could be the most sustainable solutions for our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashmira. Thank you. Nikolai, do we have anything in this for this after this planned, or do we have just open the question answer round?
Just go in the question answer round. We only have 8 minutes left, so it's probably best to just see if anyone here has any questions for the authors.
Yeah, we actually thank you for this great turnout, whoever is here still. And yes, we have 8 minutes left. If there are any questions that you have, you can just type in or just ask it directly. Anybody?
Sanga, may I?
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah, so it's actually not a question, but it was a pleasure knowing about Desirie's article, and would love to know more about her work, and would love to connect. So I wanted to share, express gratitude here for sharing about such a powerful movement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually did write several of your names down, including yours as Jaya. So I'll be in touch. Yes, thank you.
Definitely. I have a question for Amrish, if you're still here. Are you here? No, he's not in here. So
Yes,
I
yes,
actually
yes. Please,
Oh, you have here.
please.
Sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to talk about like the models you have taken about, like how do mental health challenges among farmers or you have taken as a group, how does it affect their ability to innovate and continue their work? One is that, and secondly, are there already some traditional models which are already available to them, which helps them to rejuvenate, take care of their mental health? Would you like to talk about it?
Yes, yes. There are many. See, there are many traditional. I think is it audible clearly? There are many food practices which is now it is going out of because of many modern and because of this inorganic practices. So, like recently, I had mentioned one also. There is one in the south. There is one system called Rolu. It's an indigenous, meter gauge system, rain gauge system, which record the amount of rainfall. So this is a very low cost indigenous technology, and that helps the farmers to which helps them. Suppose if it is full, the Rolu meter gauge is full, the rain gauge is full, so they get the indication of sowing within 2 to 3 days of particular crops. So those things definitely make them, help them not to go with the very high cost, because now agriculture is becoming very capital intensive. So if they
Yeah.
go for natural farming and these FPOs and SHGs, and if we can train, like Krishi Vigyan Kendra, government officials and health officials, if they all come together, as the
Yeah.
model says, and we can train our volunteers from the village, so they
Yeah.
can help, definitely they can help these farmers to reduce their mental stress, and they will get the dignity also, because they don't feel pride in sharing or telling that they are the farmers,
Yeah.
and whether these are the practices. So definitely.
Okay, I have just one more question for Desri. Here in this, I want to ask that how does storytelling, particularly ancestral or cultural storytelling, serve as a vehicle for personal healing and systemic transformation?
I think the most simple answer is when you're able to tell your story, you are not invisible. And so part of that is being able to find those who you can connect with, the same kind of story, and you all can have a shared kind of healing, but also being able to find differences in the stories and then being okay with that difference. I think that's the biggest thing with the GOC for me is all over the world, we see each other so differently. We speak different languages, we have different cultures, religions, but at the center of it, we're all looking for healing. We all are looking for community. And I'll say we all, because even if you don't know it, I think we are. And that the storytelling allows us to be creative. It allows us to go deep, or we can go as surface as we want to until we build those kind of relationships. So, and it's a fun way to, just engage in this work. And you can, yeah, just storytelling is a powerful tool. So.
Thank you. We all are exploring that as a powerful tool in every sphere of work today. So just wanted that question. I think we have just 2 minutes left, right, Nikolai? So we need to wind this
Yeah.
up
Can I
from
take the last question?
please do. I don't have any
Yeah.
question unless
So
you have.
my question is to Amir, and if he's still around, because he talked about language, about converting all of these tools into language, and language is also a challenge that this the conversion of the majority language, like in Orissa, everything is in Uriya, but many tribes do not understand Uriya. So how the government process of trying to integrate local dialects and in their teaching module, in their booklets, how do we see that in the implementation phase? I mean, we have a lot of books and everything out there in local language, but there always seem to be a gap in implementation. How do we see, how do we address those challenge, and are there any kind of support, institutional support that the government is providing to all of these, all the tribal communities to kind of build those, to bridge the gap? That was one of my questions on language. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. Amir, are you still here? I don't think Amir is here. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to answer the question? Okay. Anyway, I would. I think we are coming to an end of this event, and I would invite Nick to close this event.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you, Sangha. Thank you to all the authors. Amazing articles, amazing learning, and thank you for sharing, taking the time to write and to share your, experience so that the rest of the globe can experience this. Part of the Social Innovations Journal, we're also working with TUF, really working on Indigenous communities and partnerships. Anmatake Trust to spread this knowledge across the globe to other Indigenous and tribal communities across the globe too. So I'm sure we'll incorporate that into that. But your articles will live on the Social Innovations Journal, and we take what we just did today. We love for people to experience and have a direct connection to the authors themselves, so they see the people behind the thinking and stuff with that. But a fantastic partnership, and enjoy your afternoon or evening or morning, depending upon where you are in the globe. So again, enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.